If you watched PBS Kids at some point in the 2000s, there's a chance at some point in that time period that you have watched or at least heard of Caillou. If by some chance you don't know what it is, you're pretty lucky, as I will give you a synopsis. Caillou is a Canadian children's cartoon that ran from 1997 to 2010. The show's main protagonist is a 4-year-old bald-headed boy named Caillou, and it details his everyday life with his family and friends. If you want my opinion on the show, I'll tell you that I find it very cringeworthy and annoying, especially the episode with the circus. Then again, the show's age demographic is for very young kids, so pretty much not meant for my age demographic in the first place. Despite this, there is something very strange with one of Caillou's family members. That character I am referring to would be his younger sister, Rosie. What is strange about Rosie, you may ask? Well, fair enough, I'll tell you. It's her hair color, which is red, while the hair color of both her parents, Doris and Boris, are brown. Do you find that odd? Suspicious, maybe? If you're wondering might that be, well, after the experience I just had prior to writing this, there may be an answer being hidden away. The evidence to Rosie's red hair comes from an unlisted episode from a series that somehow made its way to the Pirate Bay. The file's title went under the name of Caillou, Mommy's Secret, unofficial episode. When I originally came across the torrent by its name alone, I thought it could be something extremely rare, or just some fan animation made by someone. I clicked the download button out of curiosity and opened up the AVI file. To my surprise, it wasn't a fan animation as the show's regular intro played in the background. The one from the later series to be exact. The title card read, Mommy's Secret, which shows Caillou's mother hugging a man with the same hair color as Rosie. He had a yellow jacket with a red shirt under the unzipped jacket, blue jeans, and black shoes. The episode started off with a view of Caillou's house as the grandmother narrator states, it was just a regular Monday morning at Caillou's house. Caillou was just about ready to head to preschool. Doris is then seen in the kitchen as she yelled for Caillou to come down. Caillou come down, ready to go. She gave Caillou his lunch and they drove off. She then dropped off Caillou at his preschool telling him, have a good day at preschool, Caillou! Just before she got back in her car, her cell phone rang. She answered it. The call went like this. Hello? Oh, Philip! How are you doing? That's great to hear. When will you be over? Noon? Good. I'll be home around that time. Goodbye. As far as I can remember, there had been no character on the show by the name of Philip. The scene then cuts to home where Doris was making herself lunch. Her husband Boris was absent from the home as he was at work. A knock on the door is heard and she went to check who was there. It was the same guy from the title card I had seen earlier. She welcomed a man who was revealed to be Philip and hugged him. Philip then asks Doris, well, ready to do it? Doris responded with a yes as they made their way upstairs. I didn't know what the two were going to do until they made their way to the upstairs bedroom. That is when it showed Philip taking off his jacket and shirt, becoming topless as a result. At that moment, I knew they were going to have an affair while Boris and Caillou were away. It is unclear where Rosie was at this time, most likely downstairs or in her room from my first assumptions. The scene then transferred to an office where Boris is working on some sort of document. The telephone beside the computer suddenly rang and Boris answered it. It was from Caillou's teacher, Miss Martin. Boris' phone call went like this. Hello? Oh, hey, Miss Martin. Is Caillou okay? What? He threw up? Okay, I'll be there to pick him up shortly. Bye. Boris then went to his boss, a man in his late 60s, and explained that his son had vomited while at preschool and needed to be picked up. Feeling sympathetic to his cause, he then dismissed Boris, who then made way to the preschool to pick up an ill-feeling Caillou. After picking him up, Boris asked Caillou, so what happened, Caillou? Caillou responded with, well, just after having my lunch, my tummy felt strange, and I went to the bathroom and I threw up. Boris responded with, oh dear, must be food poisoning, I suppose. They then arrived home where Boris asked for Doris. She didn't respond as he entered the living room, however. He heard a faint moaning sound from what must have come from upstairs. A suspicious look crept across Boris's face, and he went up to the bedroom. When he entered, his expression changed from suspicion to that of a mixture of shock and disgust. There, he saw his wife and Philip doing it under the covers. Boris' expression changed again, this time to that of anger. He then ran and leapt onto the bed where he kicked Philip in the face and left rib, causing him to fall off the bed. For a second it showed Philip naked. Behind him, of course. Philip hit the ground quite hard and his nose even bled a bit. An angry Boris pointed at Philip, demanding his name and what he was doing with his wife. Philip then got himself back up, not showing his naked body, of course, and told Boris he was cucking him out. When he said that, I just burst out laughing. The two kept arguing for a few seconds when it then cut to Rosie's room. She was playing with some toys when she heard her dad and Philip arguing a few rooms down the hall. Confused, she left her room and went to her parents' bedroom to see what was going on. She opened the door and saw her dad and the man she didn't know arguing. They both heard the door creak open and looked down at Rosie. Philip then smirked and told Boris, "You see that so-called daughter of yours? Well, guess what? I'm the daddy. Does the hair color not prove so? You're pathetic." Boris then looked at his wife and asked her, "Is he right? Is he Rosie's real father?" Doris, who was still covered under the sheets and looking panicked, sighed and reluctantly responded, "Yes, I've been begging him since Caillou was 1 year old." Philip, who had dressed himself back up at this point, tried to escape, but Boris grabbed him by his shirt's collar and threatened Philip with, "Listen, if I ever see you near this property again, it will be the last thing you will ever do. And let me tell you, what will happen to you afterwards won't be pretty. Understand? Now get out!" Philip then ran out of the house. Boris then looked at his wife, who had remained still in the bed. He stated, "You know, Doris, I consider giving you a second chance for a moment, but after realizing you've been banging with another man for the past 3 years, you've gone at least a million steps too far. I'm calling for a divorce lawyer." The scene cut to the house at night. The narrator stated, "It had been weeks since Caillou's mommy and daddy had their divorce. As a result, mommy and Rosie had been kicked out by daddy. Daddy felt that Caillou needed a new mommy to replace her original one. Caillou would be meeting daddy's new girlfriend tonight, and he was very excited." Boris was in the living room talking to Caillou. He told him, "Well, Caillou, after Mom and Rosie had left, we are having a new member in this house. My new girlfriend, Jenny. She's a fitness instructor I met at the gym about 2 weeks ago. Don't worry, she's a very nice lady, and she gets along very well with children." A knock was then heard. Boris excitedly stated, "Oh, look, she's here!" He opened the door to Jenny, a somewhat looking blonde-haired girl with pretty big tatas, a green fitness tank top, and blue exercise pants. She hugged Caillou and then went to hug Boris. The funny thing about this part was that what Jenny referred to her new boyfriend as Sugar Daddy, while Boris referred to her as Sugar Baby. Caillou then asked Jenny if she wanted to see his toys. She said yes, and they made their way to the playroom. Caillou showed Jenny his toys. Jenny, who seemed to get along really well with children, played with Caillou. The shot then cuts to a window outside. Night had already fallen. Outside was Doris with Rosie. Doris glared at Caillou and Jenny playing with toys from the outside. She then mutters the words, "Someday, someday, someday. I'll get you, Boris. I will get Caillou back. Just you wait." The episode ended from there as it went to the credits. After finishing the episode, difficult questions filled my mind. Had Doris really been that dissatisfied with her husband to the point of cheating on him just to get sex? How did Boris not come to the earlier suspicion of Rosie's hair color? There are many questions about this that I feel I will never get an answer to, simply for the fact that there are zero answers.